Okay, good evening everyone. We'll get started if everyone's ready. Anna, can you shut the door having closed it? Sorry? Okay, good evening everyone and welcome to the latest Portsmouth Supporters Club meeting. For those of you who've not been before or who've not met the committee, my name's Ian Chillerton, I'm the chair of the Supporters Club. We've got some committee members here tonight as well. We have Tracy, who's our vice chair, we have Will, who's our media guy, and we have Susie, who's our secretary, and Brad, our treasurer, can't be here tonight, unfortunately, he's poorly. So best wishes to him, hope he gets well soon, a lot of it going around. We really appreciate you coming tonight. It's not a pleasant evening, but we've got a really jam-packed evening for you. We're going to be starting off with an announcement on the local initiatives that we're going to be supporting this season through the Supporters Club. And then we've got our very first Legends interviews with special guests Gemma, Hillier and McMillan, who have joined us tonight. And then following a short break, we're going to turn to the club Q&A, and we've got Brooke Chaplen, Sadler, Coan and Hornby for that. So, first up, we're going to do our announcements on the initiatives that we're going to be supporting this season as a supporters club. And I appreciate I've got a fat head and I'm probably blocking the screen, so I'll try and set that. Last season, the money we raised as the supporters club, we used it towards purchasing some substitute benches for the POTC youth teams, which is basically the youth system here at Portsmouth. So yeah, we funded some of these pop-up. The girls are actually sat on that one there, because previously, in previous seasons, during especially these sort of winter months, in the cold and wet, they often had to stand by the side or sit on the floor in the wet or sit on their coats. So the supporters club funded the pop-up substitute benches for them. So that was really good. We were really pleased with that. For our first year as a founded supporters club, we were really pleased to be able to do that initiative. Now this year we were looking to step that up and to see what we could do. So what we did is we reached out to our members for ideas and nominations for football clubs and initiatives which we could support and provide some aid to. We did receive a number of applications from clubs and individuals. Unfortunately, we weren't able to support all of them because we just don't have the funds to do that. And some of the clubs were just too big. So some girls' teams who had larger squads and they wanted whole kits or training tracksuits for sort of large squads, we just couldn't do it because it's beyond our financial means at the moment. But we were able to find some initiatives we can support, and we're going to talk about them and what we're doing this season now. So the first initiative that we're going to support, that we're delighted to announce, is that we're going to be sponsoring United Services girls football team under 13. So we're going to be kit sponsors for them, and we're going to be providing the shirts which they've ordered now. The sponsoring of a girls team works on every level for us. They didn't have a kit. They had a sponsor who had offered to buy them the kit, and they pulled out due to the financial troubles that they were having with their business, and it left them unable to fund a kit. So we reached out to them. It was one of the ones recommended by one of our members. We reached out to them and we were able to work out a deal where they've designed this new kit with our logo on the front, and obviously we've paid for it all for all the girls to have. So we're really pleased with that. We feel that aligns in what we want to do. We want to support local girls football, and yeah, this was a really good opportunity and we're really, really pleased with that. So that's the first thing we're going to be doing, and then hopefully when the kit arrives and the girls start playing in it, then we can get some proper match photos from them, and we're going to go and visit them in training and see them. So that's the first initiative we're supporting this year. The second one we're going to support is, which is our bigger one of the two, we're going to be partnering with a local company called Align Performance to form the Portsmouth Supporters Club Scholarship Scheme. So we're really, really pleased with this. It's taken many months of work to get this off the ground and get it up and running. Align Performance is a local company and founded and run by Brittany Gilles, who plays still plays local football. She founded the company to give local kids opportunities for some one-to-one training. In fact, Abby was on her scheme many years ago. And what we've done is we've partnered with her to provide one-to-one training for local girls who perhaps can't afford it, whose parents aren't able to pay for it, because it is quite expensive one-to-one training. So we felt there was an opportunity there where we could actually get some girls in on our sort of scholarship scheme, and then we will pay for them to do one-to-ones throughout the rest of the season. So we're really pleased with that. Again, we feel that aligns exactly with what we want the supporters club to do. It's a local company, it will be local girls, and we're going to try and select girls who haven't had the opportunity to do one-to-one training up to now due to their parents just not being able to afford it. So yeah, that will be our second initiative, and one that we're really proud of. So I do have a video here from Brittany. Hopefully it will play. It might be a bit loud. So.
Hi everyone, it's Brittany from Align. Sorry I couldn't be with you today. Unfortunately, duty calls, and we have a lot of group sessions tonight that I can't get out of. So apologies for not being able to attend and meet you all personally. Just wanted to sort of give you an overview on Align and how we're going to be working with Portsmouth Supporters Club on the scholarship programme. So here at Align, we are a coaching provider. We look to provide opportunities for those that want to better themselves and learn the technical and tactical of football. So we started off as a one-to-one provision, and then we sort of have grown. We now have 2 sites, one in Portsmouth, one in Mead. We look to try and offer loads of opportunities for especially girls. Growing up and being a female footballer myself, there wasn't anything like us around, especially where there's like a community where we can all drive and push each other forwards. So yeah, the main sort of pure focus for us is working on the technical side of the game. We understand when you sort of within the team setting, you don't always get those touches on the ball that are very important. So we look to sort of take that away from the team training and purely focus on that. So yeah, we do have multiple group sessions that we run and one-to-one services as well. So whether you're looking to work on the sort of, like I said, technical aspect, but on a one-to-one basis, or whether you're looking to work on the one-to-one basis in the group scenario and group setting and apply those skills. This is where the scholarship and working with Portsmouth Supporters Club is going to really help the girls that have been selected, as we will be working with them on a one-to-one basis. We will be applying our technical knowledge and be transferring that over to them to help them improve quicker, improve at a much quicker pace than what they would be if they were just looking at staying with their team training. We understand that not everyone can afford this service, so that's where we've come into play. We want to, like I said, provide these opportunities for those that don't have this luxury, and yeah, see where they can go. We just want to thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for Portsmouth Supporters Club for offering this service to us, because we want nothing than to help as many girls as we can into football, and we look forward to meeting the selected few.
Okay, so that's Brooke. She was the founder and CEO of the Live Performance. So yeah, we really look forward to working with her to make those sessions available to some young girls in our community. So just before we move on to our next section, just want to take the opportunity to thank you all really. We wouldn't be able to do any of this without our members. So our full memberships, which is something as you know, we run every year. It's £10 for the season. It seems a small amount with individuals, but believe me, when you have like 120, 130, 140 people signing up, it gives us a budget to go out and do things like this. So without our full members, we just wouldn't be able to do any of this. So thank you to all of you for doing that, and it's going to make a real difference to these girls. I say, there's only a small group of us, part of the supporters club, but I think we're punching above our weight in terms of the impact we're having. Providing a kit for a team and being able to run scholarship for young girls in the same season is actually incredible, considering we're only a couple of seasons old. So we're really pleased with that. So thank you to everyone for being part of that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to our Legends interviews. So we're going to, if you're facing this way, you might want to flip because we're going to go that way. So just give us a minute to rejiggle everyone and then we'll carry on over there. Okay, so we are going to move on to our Legends Q&A. So first of all, a very warm welcome to Gemma Hillier and McMillan. It's an honour to have you both here joining us. We do normally do the club Q&As with players and officials, and they are absolutely brilliant at coming along and joining in. This is our first Legends one, so thank you for coming along, and yeah, it's really great to have you here. So between you both played for the club for decades, you were teammates together for many years, and you were actually, speaking to you in the week to the build-up to this, it was clear that you actually were part of the club before official records began, so it's actually quite hard piecing exactly together what you've done. But just a summary before we begin for our members who may not have been watching Pompey Women when Fee and Gemma played. So Fee, you were with Portsmouth for 23 years after joining the club in 1992, aged just 10, and you retired in 2015. You made your debut in 1998, aged 16, and played over 300 times for the club. You won a lot of silverware during your playing career here, including 2 league titles in 2003 and 2012, and we believe around 20 Hampshire Cups. Gemma, you were at Portsmouth for 17 years. You made your debut aged just 14, which is crazy, Abby's age. Aged just 14, and you left the club in 2017. You played for the club also over 300 times, and it's believed you scored 99 goals, and you were also club captain for at least 8 of those seasons you were here. During your time, you also won the league titles in 2003 and 2012, as well as 16 Hampshire Cups. Gemma, you're still playing today. In fact, you captained Portchester to a fantastic 4-1 win this year. Absolutely brilliant, we were following it. So you're now going to face our fellow WSL2 team Ipswich in the next round, so congratulations on that. So I think everyone will agree that those statistics are absolutely incredible. Amazing how many years service you gave to the club. So I think we'll start off with a pretty simple question. You can take in turns to answer. So how did you get into football and what made you end up joining Portsmouth?
I was really lucky as a youngster. My mum was a PE teacher, so growing up I got taken to every sport going. Inset days, back then you were allowed to go into the secondary school and join in with all the sports. Wouldn't happen these days, but so I played every sport growing up, and when I got to year 9, like GCSE level, my mum said I had to pick which sport I wanted to do, and I was actually better at gymnastics, but I enjoyed football more, so I picked football, so that's how I got into it. I started with a boys team, playing with my brother, and then started at Gosport Borough, and then I played for Fulham Academy for a little bit, and then the academy there stopped. That was when they were professional, but they had lost all their funding. So I always wanted to play for Portsmouth, and back then obviously there was no age limit, so I was 13, so I joined Pompey and then made my debut at 14, so yeah, that's how I joined.
I think mine was literally just hovering around neighbourhoods trying to see who was kicking a ball and just join in, being like a little leech really. Can I play? But we had no football at our school, we had no football at senior school, and I think I was just lucky really. I mean, obviously I knew I loved football without sort of joining in with the boys, but it was a real good sort of neighbourhood where I lived, where there was a huge field just around the corner, so we were just constantly playing up there till dark, you know, coming at all sorts of hours, just football. And really, I think it was mainly sort of my friend's dad that took me along to, I think it was the first sort of coaching sort of scheme that they had going on, and I think it was back in the day where Pompey men used to train at Moneyfields. So it was just really never looked back. Didn't want to wear anything but blue. It was just Pompey, and from then on, you know, as soon as I could get into a team at a certain age, because I mean there was no teams really lower than sort of 10 years old. It was just from then on, every progression, every age group, and yeah, just carried on that.
So it's incredible when you hear stories like that, obviously I've got Abby who's played football since she was young, and she's had lots of opportunities. I mean, she still plays boys, but there's lots of girls' things to play for, lots of training available. But for you two, you had to really just join in with boys or play in the street to learn your way to get into the team. I mean, the difference now is quite incredible, isn't it, compared to what it was. So what were your earliest memories of playing for Portsmouth then? Do you remember your debuts? Do you remember any early games?
Yeah, I remember my debut only because there was a mass fight after 20 minutes. I was 14 years old. If you think about the size that I am now, I was smaller then, and there was a mass brawl after 20 minutes. There was 4 red cards, and I think at that point my mum was watching thinking, what on earth have I done here, bringing my daughter to play with these. Well, the women aren't as fit as they are now when they play football, and some of the shapes and sizes were all sorts. So yeah, that was my earliest memory, and thank God since then it got a lot better. But yeah, that's my earliest memory. So.
I think my earliest memory was, it was last minute sort of call up. I think I was about 15, 16 years old, and back then it was Steve Friends, the manager, and he given me a kit, and we were all like complaining because I think he'd spilt he had a whole bottle of vinegar in the kit bag, so everyone was playing. That's how I remember my first game, stinking vinegar. So, but I do recall we won. But yeah, that's probably because the opposition taught me mark. yeah. But that was. I can definitely remember that one. That was quite a good question.
So what was it like coming through as young female footballers? Because now the girls get lots of support, lots of encouragement, they're told that's fine. I mean, even I left school in '99, but even then I was trying to explain to Abby that the thought of a girl wanting to do football in PE, you have got no chance that Mr. Garland would have ever allowed that at my school. And I guess you had similar experiences. So were your parents encouraging? Did they think it was a bit strange that you wanted to play football? Or how did that work out as you were sort of growing up and wanting to play football?
Yeah, so as I said, I was really lucky that my mum was a PE teacher, so when I got to secondary school, there was obviously no girls' football team up until then, and my mum obviously started one because I wanted to play, and it was kind of just a case of dragging all my friends along, so every friend that I had to play in the girls' football team. So yeah, that was my experience in secondary school, but yeah, primary school, it was unheard of. I was the only girl that ever went training, and at primary school, one of my best friends was a boy, and he was one of the proper geeky boys, terrible at sport, and my mum I remember my mum storming up to the school one day, and I thought, oh, that's strange. And anyway, this lad had been selected for the team, and his mum had said to my mum, oh, was Gemma playing? And mum said, oh, didn't know anything about it. So yeah, he had been selected, this lad who kind of hated sport. He had gone to training just because his mum wanted him to, and he had been selected above me, so my mum always championed me. She's still my biggest fan. She's the loudest on the sideline, so I'm really, really lucky that I had that support, but I know a lot of youngsters didn't have that back then, so it's really amazing now, how women's football and girls' football's changed, because the parent support now is not as important because they're getting the support from the coaches and more equal opportunities. So yeah, I was really lucky as a youngster.
I don't think there was any support at all back. I mean, I'm a bit older than Gemma, but I can't recall ever there being sort of any real kind of just positivity about playing football. It was almost a bit frowned upon. I'll always remember school never being interested. I'd say I've been selected for Hampshire, or had done well at the weekend with school, not interested at all. And the only time I recall them ever really knowing that I played football is when a teacher called Mr. Scott, who I didn't like, he called me in and he said, I heard you got sent off at the weekend. I was like, oh, so you know I play football then? I mean, that was literally the only time I think there was any talk of me playing football or for Pompey. It was very much like the teachers caught wind of you trying to join in, play, and then you're told to step back, sit out. And I think there was only real kind of respect sort of being gained that you played football and you played at a good level. It's when I was at college, so that's really poor from junior to middle school to senior school, that there was no recognition no positivity about it, and it's quite a shame really, but obviously you're a bit younger, so you would perhaps seen a bit of a different side to that. But I'm quite sort of tough, and I just kind of sort of defended myself really and didn't let it put me off. I think they were just maybe a little bit, I don't know, felt a bit threatened maybe, I don't know, but yeah, it's not like that now, which is really good. You can definitely see the other side now. It's just a shame, that element of it. But
do you think it made you more resilient? Because I often think this when I see players like you come through and you literally don't have any, you had no help whatsoever, you had to do most of it yourself. Some of the challenges were just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. When you get to the point where you're playing, is there an argument that perhaps you just want it more because you've had to work so hard?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't like a sob story, but my dad wasn't around. I mean, he was very much football, but so I literally, you know, sort of did it all myself, and sort of, you know, didn't let it put me off, just mucked in, you know, no matter how much Mickey taking was going on, it was just very much sort of, yeah, like you say, you build up that resilience, don't you, you know, some people would have turned and said, I'm not playing football, and felt threatened, but yeah.
Yeah, and there's so little women's football in the media as well back then. I mean, I remember the only women's match I ever saw was the FA Cup final on TV, and that would literally be the only match you'd ever see in the media. Did you have any role models in the women's game that you looked up to growing up?
Yeah, I recall quite a few, Kelly Smith being one of them. You know, there's I think back as well when we played Southampton when we were very good, I hate to admit that, so it was very much like, I am going to be better than you, I am not letting you get past me or beat me in any sort of dual battles or anything like that, so some key sort of figures that you kind of really wanted to you know, push yourself against. But yes, you know, Alex Scott, Kelly Smith, you know, although they sort of carried on sort of playing, can't really remember too many, and again that says it all, doesn't it, that you can't remember players from before then, but we went on to really sort of play against a lot of those players as well, you know, being sort of, you know, getting sort of go against them in cup games, things like that, so that was nice as well.
Gemma, what about yourself? Did you have any role models?
Yeah, when I played for Fulham Centre of Excellence when I was 10, and at the time our two coaches were Rachel Yankee and Katie Chapman, and I remember my first training session I tripped over as I was introduced to them, and because I was a gymnast back then I styled it out into a forward roll, and I think since then they thought I was an absolute donut, so I didn't last very long at Fulham. That's when I came to Pompey, so those two were my idols, and having them as my coaches for a couple of seasons was really, really cool. And then when we played for Pompey, we actually played them in a friendly, do you remember, pre-season, and that was just like so cool playing against them. I think we got absolutely tonked, but it doesn't matter when you're a kid and you're playing against your idols. That was really cool.
Yeah.
So not only have, as the women's game moved on massively on the pitch, it's off the pitch as well. So if anyone ever feels like it, if you search for Pompey Ladies, it's sort of women now, but Pompey Ladies back in the day, if you search for that on YouTube, you can get videos going back 10, 12 years, which the two of you are featured in, the crossbar challenges and stuff, they're still on YouTube. But yeah, notably you're training on a sand-based Astro, which if anyone's played football is the worst. You might as well just do a tarmac. Absolute hell playing sand-based Astro. But just talk to us a bit about some of the challenges you had in terms of training facilities. I'm sure you've got some funny anecdotes about the kits and travelling to away games, so tell us a bit about that.
I think we could bore you all evening with stories about how not poorly treated we were, but how different it is now. So again, probably one of my biggest memories is obviously the size of me. I'm tiny, and we always used to get hand-me-down kits from the men, so they were always extra large, so I just looked like I was wearing a dress for my whole first probably 10 years of my football career. So that's probably my funniest memory off the pitch. Now, to think that you would get a women's fitted shirt was absolutely out of the question. So yeah, that's probably my funniest memory, and travelling to away games in John Westwood's minibus the day after a Hornby away match. You can only imagine what that was like, and the smell of it, and so on and so forth. So they're probably my two, say, fondest memories, but take that as you will.
Yeah, I definitely can think of a few. I think the biggest embarrassing thing is I think if we ever wanted sort of matching training gear, you know, t-shirts to turn up to games in and stuff, especially, you know, when I was sort of younger and just sort of broke into that first team, senior level, we went to Spain, you know, for a week. You know, we played Barcelona ladies, you know, a couple of other sort of smaller teams as well. So it was a good sort of team bonding thing, as well as, you know, getting some games in pre-season. And we, you know, I think Dave, Steve, everyone fought, you know, really hard to get training kit, match tops, no luck. So I think they actually, out their own money, bought us these. We had two. We had one yellow and one blue polo shirt, and it was Donny. And I don't know how, it was only me, but I looked at and I even had the D round the wrong way on my Donny top. And I was like, how can I have a fake Donny top? Like, this is not right. Like, surely something needs to happen. And I think as well, like, it was always a scramble in the change rooms if you want a certain size shorts. Like, me and Mickey would fight a lot over certain size shorts, so we would just go to the top shop and buy our own, have them in a kit bag. And I think if you ever wanted anything specific, you'd buy it yourself. I think it was probably only a couple of, that's a bit exaggerated, about 4 seasons into where you would actually have rain jackets, training gear, all the stuff that the men had. I can only really recall that the last sort of 3 or 4 seasons, really. Yeah.
So one of the key figures that, having spoke to you both prior to today, in prep for today, was Vanessa Rainburners, your manager. She is a club legend herself, and we hope to have her along to one of the supporters club meetings one day. So I actually spoke to Vanessa in the build-up to this, had a chat to her to get her thoughts on you both. So she can't be here. She did want to be here, but unfortunately she couldn't be here tonight. But she did send a message for you both, so I've got it here. So Vanessa said, both Fee and Gemma played for many years whilst I was manager of Portsmouth Ladies. 2 very different types of players, but both had the same passion and desire for the club that they had supported all their lives and took great pride in wearing the shirt. Fee was a formidable centre-back, feared by all that came up against her. Playing alongside Laura Froggatt, they are arguably the best defensive partnership in the league. Sadly, her career finished far too early through injury, but her contribution was immense. Gemma's dedication and determination shone through, and it wasn't long after joining that I made her captain. A dynamic centre forward who was our top goal scorer for many seasons. This, however, wasn't her only contribution, as her work rate off the ball was phenomenal. Both were great players for the club, and they were pivotal in the 2011-12 season when we won the National Southern Division to gain promotion to the top division in the country, the FA Women's National League, for the first time in the club's history. So some kind words there from your ex-manager. Just tell us a little bit about her and what she did for Portsmouth during her time.
So yeah, I joined the same season that Vanessa did, and what she did for the club was just incredible. I think the best thing that she taught me was kind of the standards to set yourself. I remember we turned up to a game and 3 players turned up with dirty boots and they were told to go home, and that is just kind of one thing that I remember, that if you turn up with dirty boots, and still to this day I make sure I've got clean boots for every match, and that's kind of just one like tiny thing that she brought in that kind of set the standard. She was all about consistency and doing the basic things right, and I think that's what made us such a great team. We probably weren't the best team in the football team in the league, but because we had all of these basic things right, and we were all on the same page, that we were just one big team together. So yeah, for me it was her standards and just making everybody accountable for everything that they did. So yeah, she was one of my role models.
Yeah, I completely agree with Gemma. I mean, I remember before Ness turned up, I mean, we would obviously, you know, turn up and we would give her all on the pitch, regardless who was manager. But I've obviously, you know, had heard of Ness prior to her joining Pompey, and it was very much like stand to attention, wasn't it? When she first joined her, it was like this huge respect, but also like you're scared. Like, I thought I was going to walk into that team and I'm not no more, and she just literally upped the standards of everything from, you know, it's not even at training or the games, it was just outside of football. You know, you were running more, going to the gym more, doing everything, you know, you could to look after yourself. You wouldn't dare tell her that you went out on a Friday night, you know, because she would just frown upon it. I mean, although she knew, you know, we did it on occasions, we certainly started to limit it more. There was like a new sort of found respect where, hang on a minute, you're completely committed here and you want to win. And we did, but we kind of had that balance where it was like social as well as, you know, playing and wanting to win, whereas we just became so much more professional. And yeah, I really, really recall a few sort of hair-drying moments. I think Brooke was on the receiving end of one. I can really remember the way, I think it was not Reading, Mill or something. Yeah, we didn't dare speak back to her. We, you know, arrived in proper kit. We arrived with clean boots, and I think, you know, if you didn't give your all, you would know about it. And I kind of really like that, because what you see is what you get. There's no sort of, I think she's just honest, and I think that is what we needed. There's no like, you're going to play today but you don't get on. It was very much what you need to improve on, what you need to go out and do in order to get yourself in that team. And I just think she upped everyone's levels. I mean, you could see that over the seasons of how much we progressed as a team, and then it started to attract other good players. And I genuinely believe she got sort of Pompey to that highest point that we could get to at that stage, whilst also still having fun, and there was a real sort of togetherness there, and it was hugely enjoyable, wasn't it? Because I think deep down we wanted Pompey to be professional, we wanted it to obviously be fun, but we were very much passionate, and I think just her coming in was at the right time. Yeah, and I really, really enjoyed all those seasons under Ness. A huge support off the pitch as well when I had that really bad injury. Yeah, so I've got a lot to thank Ness for. She got the best out of everybody, that's for sure.
And were there any other key figures in and around the club during your times here that perhaps some of the newer supporters, like myself, should need to know about?
So probably like one of the newest people that you guys might have heard of. So after Vanessa, Perry North East took over as manager, and although Ness was very like old school in the way she coached, Perry was the first person that came in with kind of tactics, I guess, and like different formations and different ways to play. Under Ness it was very much this is how we're going to play, and we developed from there, whereas Perry was kind of one of these kind of new part of the FA, like did all the coaching badges. So again, he lifted the team in terms of on the pitch, he lifted us to the next level as well. So yeah, from my side, he would be another person who's had a really big influence on the club, but there's somebody who's far more important.
Yeah, I agree, like Perry brought that modernness, so what Ness had instilled, and then going on to Perry, you know, it was just on its way up, and I think it was just really unfortunate that we didn't get that sort of Super League spot when, you know, so much people put a lot of work in behind the scenes, and that's where I come and speak about Dave Coyle, a huge legend of the club, the biggest legend you will ever hear about. The work he did, so selfless, wouldn't do it for himself, for everybody around him. You know, he had time for absolutely everybody, and still his family. He involved his family. His family had been involved with Pompey for years, and came to the games even, you know, when Dave was around, you know, as chairman and things. they just brought the life and soul to Pompey, but for me, Dave was like a father figure. You know, picking me up when my mum couldn't get me to games, you know, picking me up for training, dropping me home, and again, a huge support on and off the pitch. Yeah, and obviously from a young girl right to when he passed away, was like, yeah, a very, very huge loss, and a huge loss to Pompey. Yeah, but just the complete unsung hero of Pompey. I still don't think I know truly the amount of work that he did. It was huge, huge to Pompey, and it's so important that people are out there like that, you know, that can do these voluntary roles and things, because Pompey basically is where it is today because of Dave Will.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you know, people like myself who came into it a bit later after Dave's time, unfortunately never got to meet him, but it's really interesting because we hear his name and, you know, you can read the Wikipedia page, but that, speaking to the people who knew him and were affected by his work, that is where you really get an impact of, hang on a minute, without people like yourselves, Ness, Dave, even some people in this room, you know, that without those people who have volunteered back before we were even semi-pro, before Jay's time, all those people who set the foundations for what these modern players are doing now, it's actually incredible. And I think part of our job as the supporters club is trying to make a boost awareness of that, so having you here tonight is part of that. So yeah, it's really good to have you. Between you, well over 600 appearances. We'll never know the true number because records didn't begin till into your careers, but obviously many games to pick from. But if there was one bad result that didn't go your way during your time at Pompey that you could reverse like that, a click of a finger, which result would it be and why?
I think mine would be playing at Fratton Park that we lost to Tottenham and we really should have won that game. For me that would have been incredible, so we never even had a inkling that we were ever going to get to play at Fratton Park. We were not involved in the men's system, men's club at all. We were lucky if we were to have our presentation here at the end of the season. That would be literally the only thing that we would ever get. I think we barely got any warning that we were getting a game at Fratton Park. So obviously we were all absolutely buzzing, especially those of us that obviously support Pompey. And yeah, we were a bit overwhelmed and we didn't play a great game and we lost. So yeah, for me that would have been unreal if we had managed to win our first game at Fratton Park.
Yeah, I'm going to say that game as well, just from a personal point of view, as well as obviously losing on like home turf, so to speak. I think, you know, with the short notice, I mean, I was sort of on my way back from a huge stint out, you know, after doing my ACL and MCL, and it was very sort of touch and go where I'd play any part of that season, but my rehab was going really well. I was really sort of pushing it, putting the extra hours, and then all of a sudden, with short notice, we were playing at Fratton Park. My first gut feeling was, great, I'm going to miss that, and it was like, I don't know, I felt sick to my stomach that the only time we would ever get that opportunity to play at Fratton Park after all those years of playing, I was going to miss out on it. So, you know, my rehab was going well and I managed to get myself in the squad, and I think it's just unfortunate how the school went. It's not the sort of game, if you're losing 1-0, that you'd put a defender on, although I definitely would have put myself up front for the last 5 minutes, header down the back of the net at the Fratton end. But anyway, didn't get on, and that is definitely one fixture I would change. It's still in my mind now. Yeah, and if anyone talks about football, if I've had a drink, that will get brought up.
Yeah, you're both of your passion for Portsmouth come through. When you tell stories like that, it's really clear how much it meant to you. I mean, it's only really been in recent seasons that the players have had like more access to Fratton Park. I mean, they're still not there full time just yet, but you know, in the early days of Jay's tenure, you mean one game a year we'd be lucky to get there, and that was such a big occasion. Now we get, you know, 2 to 4 games a year there, and the players like playing there, and yeah, it's really good to see that it's moved on that much, so we don't have this sort of thing anymore. Is there so during your time at Pompey, what is your best memory? So like a single goal or defining moment or something that literally just on a rainy day would make you smile?
Being Southampton.
Go on, say that. Say it down the mic.
Being Scummers.
Mine's probably that we managed to get to the quarter-final of an FA Cup, yeah, obviously we didn't have any funding whatsoever, so everything we did was really like raw, and it was the days where the Super League had just started, hadn't it? So, and we were playing against like international players at that time, and yeah, we played against them at Privet Park down in Gosport, and we were really close to winning. It was a really close game, and I think they might have scored in the second half. So for me, that makes me really proud that we managed to get to the quarter-final of an FA Cup on literally like no budget, and just a load of local girls who just loved playing for Pompey, and that we like paid to play, and just stuff like that really makes me smile.
So between you, over 40 years of dedication to the club, 600 appearances, way more than that, loads of trophies to celebrate it, but it would still have been incredibly hard graft for you to play for the club for that long. What kept a player in those days motivated to keep going when you're training on poor pitches, you're wearing missized kit that's probably falling down as you're running along, you're not really getting any attention, you maybe get the odd game at a stadium. What kept you both going for so long to keep playing for Pompey?
I think I can speak for both of us, but we've been Pompey supporters since we were babies probably, so it was never a question that you wouldn't play for Pompey. That's kind of just what you did for both of us, I guess, and putting on that blue shirt every week was just like an absolute honour, and just felt really lucky every time we put the shirt on. Don't know if I'm speaking for you as well, but just playing for Pompey, and each year like you'd get drip fed like, oh, maybe next year is going to be a Super League, maybe we can put a bid in to be in the Super League next year, maybe we can get some new kit, and each year you're thinking, oh yeah, I want to play for Pompey next year, just to get a little bit of that, can we get the up-to-date kit?
Gemma, I've seen you do the bleep test. My God, you're fit. I can't believe how fit you are. How do you stay so fit then? Come on.
Basically, I'm probably the most boring person in the world, because even at age 38, my whole life still revolves around football and wanting to be the best that I can be. So yeah, ever since I was really young, I really enjoyed the fitness side of sport. I'm probably not the best football player in the world, but when my feet aren't working very well, I know that work rate is, I've probably made a whole career out of work rate. So obviously you do have to be like a reasonable player at a reasonable level, but yeah, work rate is probably my biggest asset. So I work hard off the pitch, I enjoy fitness, which a lot of people don't do, so yeah.
Good at it, Gemma, I'll tell you.
Thank you very
No, I'll go on more for fee. It's more for fee. Hello. You're right. It's more around, obviously I've only recently started to recognise how many games you've played in that lot, and obviously there are a lot of iconic players around your time. What more, or who else, even Gemma, you can answer, what players need to be recognised that you don't feel do? You know, like, we need to recognise you more as a football club the years before the Dave Coyle era and all that lot. What more players do you believe deserve the recognition that they're not getting?
It's hard to know whether this person gets recognition or not. You don't hear a lot. There's obviously a lot of players that have played for Pompey for years. You've got Brooke, you've got Kirsty McGee, players who went on to really do, big things, play for Super League clubs and things, and that's, a credit to Pompey. I think, as we started to progress as a team, we started producing real good players, but just from playing through a huge amount of seasons, there are so many people that played season in, season out. It would be hard to really sort of pick out certain players. I mean, like mentioned before, I said partnership with Laura Froggatt. I mean, she was England under 16s. At one stage, she was a little bit younger than me. We played a huge amount of seasons together. And again, a Portsmouth born and bred player, never played for anybody else. You know, that's one person that sticks out for me. You know, you've also got, you know, Cassie Fort played back in the years, then went on to do running. You know, you had really good, decent players who played. It would be hard to remember how many seasons, but I can definitely go away and think and maybe write some names down. But yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot.
Susie, oh yeah, there's a couple, and there's one at the back as well.
Who are your favourite players to play with, and who did you enjoy playing against?
I think I always enjoyed playing against Southampton because for many years we were always like way better than them, and then they became better at one point and the battles were kind of a lot more even. They were probably the better games, but it was probably in the Hampshire Cup finals when we were beating Southampton, they were the best games because obviously you've got a winner's medal at the end of it. So definitely playing against Southampton. Favourite players to play with, I always enjoyed playing with Fee. You could, yeah, not because she's just sat here, but you knew any ball that was going in the air, Fee would win. Obviously she's really tall, and yeah, she'd win every ball in the air. We also had some really good midfielders. Obviously Brooke played with us for many years, Kirsty McGee, who's now Kirsty Fierce at the club. Some of the three balls she could play. We've had the opportunity to play with some absolutely incredible players. As Fee said, Laura Froggatt, I remember when she got called up to England, well, she had been on a camp and we were training down at, is it Bansbury Park? Just literally on a park full of goose poo, and she had just returned back with her England shirt, and like just memories like that are just crazy that just wouldn't happen now, that somebody comes back with their England shirt training on a pitch full of goose poo. So yeah, just so many good memories. That's a really good question, really hard.
Yeah, I think all the battles with Southampton, especially, I think towards the end of the career, I think Southampton went slightly downhill, but you know, you go back sort of 6 seasons before that and they were a decent standard. It was a real good competition, a real sort of aggressive game, the games that you just want to be involved in, especially as a centre half. But I definitely also remember some good battles with Sten at Brighton when she was up front, and she was physical as well. And I prefer that, you know, none of these little strikers that just fall on the floor. Really marking, you know, one little push and that's it, free kick. So I like to have a good battle. No, she never died. Yeah, I definitely like the physical battles.
One last question.
Okay, similar question, and not to put you on the spot, but of the current squad, who's your favourite player?
I can actually answer that straight away. I'll be honest, I haven't been to a huge amount of games. I'd like to go to more. You know, I've got a 2-year-old daughter, and just at the games I've seen, and I thought no better time to take my 2-year-old to Fratton Park for the first time was when we watched Hornby Southampton. And what's your name? Sorry, the cream jumper on. I kept saying, "Who's that girl? Who's that girl? She's really good. She's really good." Yeah, you definitely impressed me. I actually thought you had a really good game. I thought you covered a huge amount of miles on that pitch as well.
My GPS didn't say that.
GPS trackers, imagine that.
Yeah. Mine's a little bit different, but mine's Chef, so she's one of the youngsters in the squad. She played with us at Portchester for a couple of games last season. I just think she's got a really great attitude, and I think she's got a really bright future in the game, and yeah, I would just love to see her fulfil her potential, so I'm going to go with her.
Okay, I think that rounds up our Legends Q&A. So, Fee and Gemma, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Stay there for a second. So, first of all, we've got a couple of bits for you to say thank you. So, first of all, we're going to award you with lifetime honorary membership to the Portsmouth Supporters Club So we've got membership packs for you, of all our pin badges and stuff in. And we've also got a couple of small gifts for you both to say thank you for coming along tonight. There'll be opportunities to have photos with Bea and Gemma if you would like. We're going to have a short break now before we do our club Q&A. Okay, so we're now going to move on to our club Q&A with Brooke, Hannah, Meg and Jay. Thank you so much to the four of you for joining us tonight. It's great to have you here. Before we do, we've got a presentation for Jay, so I'm going to hand over to Tracy.
Hello everyone. I'm not a good public speaker, so please bear with me. Hi. Jay took over the reins of Portsmouth Women in November 2017. He steered the team to win 5 Hampshire Cup titles and also 5 Portsmouth Divisional Football Association titles between 2017 and 2023. In June 2023, Portsmouth Women turned semi-professional and secured the league title and promotion from the FA Women's National League Southern Premier Division on the 14th of April 2024. In May 2024, Pompey turned fully professional as they took on the Women's Championship. It proved to be a tough season, but we pulled through and Jay was awarded the LMA Barclays Women's Championship Manager of the Year for guiding the team up the table to stay in the division. Well done. An amazing achievement. I wrote this for myself. Portsmouth Women's Supporters Club are great pleasure in presenting Jay with a trophy this evening, marking 250 games as Pompey manager. Congratulations, Jay.
Okay, so Susie's going to go around and present the mic. Please use the mic because otherwise our foreign supporters who rely on the video, they won't be able to hear the questions. So please wait for the mic to come around. So who wants to go first? Look at all the enthusiasm. Someone's got to go first.
This one's for Jay. Do you think you would be here after 9 years, going on 10, and being, I believe, the 5th longest serving person at this club, only behind Kevin Kitman, Barry Harris, Andrew Moon and Johnny Moore? Do you think you'd be in that list?
That's some good knowledge.
Yeah, I'm guessing I'm anomaly with my age there in that bracket, but no, I didn't ever envisage that, to be fair. I joined 2016 with Craig Taylor, fond memories, Jim. And no, I never envisaged I'd be here for that long. That was never a thought process when I joined the football club. It was kind of to get involved in football coaching, get involved in a women's game, and then the trajectory it's been on, it's been incredible. So yeah, for the 10th year, and hopefully a good one.
So there's a question for Meg and Hannah. Listening to obviously what the ladies were talking about their experience starting in football, how different was yours?
When I started, to be fair, it was pretty similar. I was probably one of the only girls playing football, playing in the school playground, and then joining the boys team, being the only girl in the team. Probably until I was about 10, and then I got picked up to go for trials for Everton, and then that was when I joined obviously my first girls team. I was there for obviously 10 years before I then went to senior football at Blackburn. Was there for 3.5 seasons and then made the move here. Yeah, similar. I think I come from like a rugby town. It's Wigan, it's just rugby through and through. Football's not heard of up there. I think it's still not because we're a Wigan now. I don't know. Sad that support, but I'm not coming back. So, yeah, my family's all rugby. I started with rugby, I started with ballet, anything but football. And then in my area there was a thing where they were starting women's girls teams, they hadn't got one. So they called it trials, but it was just how many girls can we get for how many teams, which was good back then. So I went there, did that, fell in love with it, stayed there for a couple of seasons. There wasn't much on the women's game, so my mum didn't know like about academies, RTCs, nothing like that. So I stayed for Wigan Athletic Women till I was like 17. Trials started happening around Blackburn, needed more players for the devs. One of my friends played for them and said, oh, just come and trial, we need players. Went there, then the game started changing, more professional, more money into it. So then I went with the first team. United Women then needed a 21s, they created a women's team, but as you said, they need like certain things, they needed 21s and devs. Tried there looking to get in, stayed around that for a bit, COVID hit, looking to train with the first team, and then back to Blackburn, and then landed here, which I'm very happy about.
So are we.
Hello. Quick one to our players here. The difference between playing on plastic and grass, do you have a preference? Does training have to be adapted when you're playing on one week and one the other?
No, it's a great question. It's hard because AstroTurf is a lot harder, a lot unforgiving, but as you can see the ball zips a lot better sometimes than an AstroTurf. And then grass is just, it's similar, it's a different surface, like it might slide just like an AstroTurf, but it always slides a bit more. So it is difficult because if you're training on an AstroTurf and you're playing on a grass, it changes your game a little bit, it might take you a little bit longer to get used to, games might start a bit slower. But both of them are a great surface, and I think if you go back to like playing on a park where it bobbles over your foot and you go and chasing it, like we've experienced that as well. So to play on both is a little bit different, but we're lucky enough to have both. So yeah.
Okay, I've got a question for Brooke. Brooke, this season saw the introduction of the salary floor. You normally hear lots about salary caps, but I've never heard of a salary floor before. So I just wondered if you could talk a bit about that and how that's affected your recruitment, or whether it's cost a lot more money to pay the players more, or how that's come up.
Yeah, so I think this is something that the league have been pushing for quite a while now, and rightly so, because I think in some instances players were being underpaid, and clubs were getting away with kind of, having lower budgets at the detriment of, players earning what they should have earned. So that's just a personal opinion. So I think it was a little bit overdue, and it's good that it's now here. It obviously does have a huge impact on budgets, and it is broken down into age categories. So how you would plan for that is that we would look to kind of have so many players in each age category, and that sets your cost really, and you try and make your squad up around that so that it doesn't hit the budget hard. You don't end up with 23 players that all fall into the top category of player salaries. But ultimately I think you asked the girls earlier about kind of the minimum standards that have been brought in and what are the thoughts on them. And again, it is just improving the product and ultimately the working conditions that the players come into. Footballers have kind of very different working lives to, the ordinary jobs, office jobs, and some weeks they might be in 6 days, some weeks might be in 7 days, and then longer periods of off time. So although sometimes shorter days, it's not kind of a regular 9 till 5 Monday to Friday where they do a set amount of hours, and then when they go home they're expected to live professional lifestyles off the pitch. So it is a very 24/7, 52 weeks a year commitment for them, and I think it's a really big step for the league to have kind of implemented this. From a club perspective, did it have a huge impact this year? Not a huge one, but it is something for the club to look at, and we had to budget accordingly for it. But I think the club are very much behind the decision, and we want the girls to be remunerated for what they bring to the club and obviously the success that follows that.
Obviously in the men's game, when they're professional footballers, they look to do different careers when they finish, like in the media and stuff. Have you two thought about like what you might do? Obviously you're still a lot younger than I am, so have you thought about what you might do when you get to the end?
Yeah, so because it's quite recent to be professional now, a couple of seasons ago I was obviously playing and then also being a teaching assistant. So I worked with SEN kids, and I fell in love with that job, and I was going to leave it, but it was always a career that I can always fall back on if I wanted. Right now, we're very lucky that there's different organisations that can help us think about it after the game, and so currently, as well as playing, like I do uni, but like it's part of a sports university, so I'm looking to go into sports analysis after football. And it doesn't take up much of my time, it's all online and I can do it when I want, because I'm lucky enough that I can do it over 3, 4, 5 years. It goes to my lifestyle, but that's all through the different, there's one called PFA, the FA, they all give us career opportunities. You don't have to go into sport, you can go into anything you want to do, but I'm looking to stay in sport and go into analysis, hopefully a long time down the line. But I've got that, I've got working as a teaching assistant or even into teaching, because I did a uni course when I was younger in that, so I've got teaching, so I've got a couple of things lined up. It's always in the back of your mind, but yeah, I think I'm lucky enough that I've got that sorted. For me, not as organised as Meg. It's something that I need to obviously look into. I've been thinking about it this year. But obviously when I was at Blackburn and we were part-time, I was working alongside it, and to be honest I hated that job. It was like sitting in an office and it just wasn't for me, so I haven't really found what I would love to do after football yet. So I think now there's obviously more things available to us. It's just kind of finding what I would like to do, and then hopefully getting the qualifications and stuff after that.
Going back to when you started playing to now, what advice would you give young people who want to be in a similar position to where you are now?
I always just say, just remember what you got involved with the sport for. I think with the change now, sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel like fun sometimes. So when you're younger, you join the game for fun, you want to enjoy it, it's a bit of a release from day-to-day life. And when it becomes your job, sometimes it can be hard to block that out. Like you feel the pressure, you've got supporters, which we're so lucky to have, but it's how long can you keep that enjoyment for? Like if you enjoy it, you'll play well, you'll make it, and it's all, I just said, as long as you're enjoying football, that's the priority, you'll make it in football. As soon as you start feeling like it's a job or it's a chore or you don't want to be doing it, that's where you need to find that love again. That was serious. That was serious. Yeah, obviously I think when we started football there wasn't really that like clear pathway you could see through to sort of the first team, and like obviously now kids growing up you can sort of see that pathway, and I think obviously getting that exposure and giving them that exposure is like a driving factor for them, but also just enjoy it and just working hard to get to the point where you want to.
This is a question for Jay. Where do you see me in your team? No, I mean,
I said this to you tonight, I said next to Hannah at the back, I go back to a back four, because I need another third defender in there, and then Hannah'd sweep everything up behind you, you go for every area. I've thought about this.
Good answer. And this is a serious question. I obviously know you love football, you wouldn't be doing it otherwise, and it's like a job now. And I think a lot of people will be unaware of how many hours you actually put into making this team successful, you know, whether it be you're on your laptop looking at sort of analysing games, opposition, you know, how many hours a week do you actually spend with football terms of, you know, Pompey ladies?
Over the weekend, 0. I was doing some laminate flooring at home trying to find something different to escape from. But if you come around the house, you'll realise that I'm not a tradie at all. Probably too much, but only to the point where I probably just really enjoy it. So even like after training today, opportunity to go home and then get ready and then come here, and I was like, just stay and watch a Charlton game, and I can put that on the big screen and watch it. So probably more when I've looked back at it, and we do a lot of reflection pieces. I know that the girl said about the PFA, and for us we have the LMA, and I think it was one of these big pieces. We look back on how many hours are you actually spending on the football, whether that be preparing meetings, etc., and it's probably, I'd say probably you're looking at 8-10 hours a day, probably just constantly. But I'd say that's also because you love doing it, and I think it goes back to your question, how you answered there, is like there's a real love, and sometimes it does get tough. I think start of the season, obviously with the injuries and everything going on, it gets to the point where it can get too much at times, and you need to have that escapism in the right moments and not allow the fuel to completely run dry. You've got to keep it going. But for me, it's the enjoyment. I just love football, love the growth that the club's been on, love the opportunities that women's football now has and can offer. And yes, it is a job, but there's also a really enjoyable factor to it.
Good answer.
We are definitely the back four next time. Make it win.
Hi, this one's for Meg. Since your arrival, since you've joined Portsmouth Pompey Women, the goals you've scored, I mean, I think you're, am I right in saying you're the club's top scorer so far this season? I think that's right. So congratulations on that. Is there any particular goal that you scored that stands out for you? Or any particular favourite one?
Han just touched on it then. The free kick that was a shot, but everyone says is a cross. We all know that was a cross. Not every goal's special. Every goal's special because I think last season I did myself an injustice with just getting 2. You brought me in to score goals and I didn't do that. So every goal this season is a bit more special because it's proving a point, as this is what you brought me in to do. But I think it's tough because they're all different. So I enjoy all of them. The Birmingham I enjoyed because it kind of got the game back, but then the scoreline didn't reflect that. Yeah. The last minute at Sunderland. I forget about that one. But yeah, that one because obviously it's got the 3 points. It's done the job, and all the girls worked hard behind me to put me in that spot. So yeah, this is the one.
This is for Brooke. I've really enjoyed the fact that we've now got a YouTube channel, and when I was on holiday for 2 weeks in Mallorca, I've got to watch both games. Is that a big benefit to the club from a financial point of view?
That's a complicated question. So the YouTube channels is a league agreement, so that's not something that the club independently have decided to do. That's something that the league decide. I don't know if you guys remember the FA player, which would have been a couple of seasons ago, and then last year I think 1 game a week was selected on YouTube, and then this year they made the decision for all games. And I think it's that balance between exposing the game to more people, but also then not impacting bums on seats in the ground. Obviously the centralised money that gets distributed, that will lead into that. So it's not a money maker in its own right, but it's part of a bigger plan that the league have in terms of exposing WSL2 to a bigger audience. And I'm sure there is probably some revenue attached to that that filters down through the centrally distributed funds.
This one for Jay, but Meg and Hannah, you might have an input as well. Seen all the games this season, so from my point of view, I feel like the team's different this year. Last year, obviously our first season at that level, lots of new players, and there were games where we would go a goal down and maybe capitulated a bit and ended up being 3-4-5. This year the team feels completely different, and it feels like we can stay in games even if we concede. The Birmingham one's a great example of that. First goal goes into, oh my god, and then before you know it, we're back in it. And it's a brilliant, as a supporter, it's so good. And then the Sunderland game as well. What's the big difference for you guys between last year and this season, which means we can stay in games and score a lot more goals as well?
I think the biggest thing was the physical demands of the game, going from, I think I've said this before, going from tier 3 when you're training 3 evenings a week to then going full time is completely different. And I think physically a lot of the players, I think it was 13 or 14 players that we'd transitioned from tier 3 up to tier 2, and rightfully so. They deserve their full-time contracts on merit. I think we were going into a completely different league in terms of the physical demands from minute 1 all the way through to the end. And then with physical demands comes cognitive demands. So that kind of competitive nature to stay concentrated within the game. This year, there's been a heavy focus on that, kind of how do we respond to adversity as a group, and players have done some work on that as well, and how do we stay in games, how can we be more competitive physically, and assert ourselves better. So a lot of work over the off-season to kind of look at how does that look. Obviously recruitment's helped as well, brought in players that have had experience of playing at the level of training as a professional athlete, and it not being kind of a new thing to them. So that obviously helps too. And for some of the players as well, having that exposure of playing in the league and knowing that the competitiveness of tier 3 to tier 2 is a massive jump, and probably a jump that we didn't anticipate to be as big. But this year, the way the group have taken to it, really competitive, no matter how many, whatever players we've got available, however big the squad is, the players have been extremely competitive. And I think, similar to what you were saying about, there's a real togetherness about the group, and there's a want to fight for every single minute on the pitch.
Yeah, I just think when Portsmouth come up as well, the league was crazy, just in the sense of like, I think it's one of the toughest leagues to play in. Like in the WSL, it's like similar to the men's game where you've got your Arsenals, your Chelseas, all your big teams, but in the WSL too, like you've got Sunderland who one season would have been second in the league, and then the next season you play them and they're with you at the bottom. So it's hard to gauge the league. So like Jay coming up, we looked at the league and thought, right, my team, my players can get a result against these and these. You get to the league and turns out they've recruited and they're at the top of the league now. And I think that was a shock as well. And it was a shock to me and Han because obviously we've been in the league as well and we knew what it was like playing Durham, and then again Durham at the top of the league. So it's a hard way because you've got to learn on the job. But it's unforgiving because if you're not learning quick, you're losing games, and before you know it, you're fighting like a relegation. And then right now, like not much has changed, but we're performing well, we're getting results, and it's hard to actually pinpoint what that is. So yeah, that's what I'd say. It's just a very hard league to really get a gauge on.
This is really for all of you. You started talking about the difference between playing in what we call Div 3 and Div 2, WSL 2 now, something. I've noticed, and a lot of people in here have noticed as well, that the team is very together. you know, the whole team is really as one, and that's very noticeable. I watched other teams a lot, and I don't think they're as together often as we are. And I mean, the bigger teams, I see that, and I'm not. I always think that they've got a bit of a chink there, that they're not as together as we are. Would you say that the squad is more together than it's ever been? That's a question for all of you.
I think probably the togetherness of the squad is probably what got us through last year. Obviously we didn't start how we wanted to. We probably only really competed really after Christmas, and I think teams could have crumbled, but I think the togetherness of the squad is probably what got us through them tough moments last year and helped us get them results towards the end of the season. And I think that's just a really important factor within a team. Obviously, it's never always going to be smooth sailing, and you're never going to win every game. There's always going to be rough moments, but I think the togetherness of the squad's really important, and that's what really keeps us going.
No, the togetherness has always been there. I think it was one of the big selling points that Jay put to me before I come down here, and he called it just the Pompey way. It's just Portsmouth. It's what you get being down here, and probably it's been there for years. And I think Jay once said, like, technically we might not be the best, but as a team you know what you're going to get for 90 minutes. Like, so I think it's always been there. I think the tough season last year, like Han said, has really shown this year. We don't want another season like that, and the togetherness has kept us together then, but now it's fueling the fire to fight for a better position in the league.
Yeah, no, I think it's synonymous with Portsmouth. I think when I joined, Lita Rutherford, Gemma Hillier, Nadine Bazan, Shannon Sibright, I could list so many. That's probably the selling point that brought me in and kept me there for so many years, was this togetherness that Pompey had. Everyone was in it for one another. If one person was hurting, everyone would share their pain. And if one person was reveling in success, everyone would champion them. And it's kind of something that I think I was brought into and probably was passed on from the people I was there, and I've just tried to keep that going, because I think it's kind of like a constant value that the football club has, no matter whether it's adversity, whether it's through success, it's staying together. And I think the year we won the title was a squad that was together, that knew what they were about, and that lot. But then the togetherness really shone through, and having 6 games to stay in the league. And then I think Meg's just hit the nail on the head. That togetherness has kind of fueled our fire this year. But it takes a certain people to or a certain person to kind of fit into that Pompey way and Pompey spirit. And that's why recruitment of people, whether that be staff, and we've got some great new staff that have come in now, who, again, people friendly, very person-centric club. I think it's good having good people, because they make good players, not the other way around.
Can I just say, if you hear "Fueled the Fire" in an interview after a match, you know where he got it from, because he does use it quite a bit. But I hear it in interviews all the time.
All right, one now. I will now.
You wrote that "Fueled the Fire" that.
3 weeks under. Sticks in here.
So Jay, I just wondered whether you would be taking some tips from Fee when she was talking about some of the past managers' coaching tips. This time next year we'll have this, or actually we could try the vinegar.
I like the idea of that.
Yeah.
So when Sean aren't getting anywhere near us at all. Yeah, no, I've spoken a lot, Perry and Vanessa, to be fair, on both of them. Obviously, 2 completely different head coaches, managers, and obviously what they did for the football club over their tenures, and obviously there'll be managers beforehand. But yeah, always kind of checking in and catching up with both of them. But you know, I mean, catching on any extra tips we can get from the old school, kind of the dark arts, we'll definitely use. Pardon? There you go. Hans already got that one.
This is sort of aimed at all of you. Outside of the football club, what brought you to Portsmouth? Because for Hannah and Meg, it's quite a trip from Blackburn to come all the way down here. Also for Jade, coming from Liverpool, it's sort of quite a trip. So what outside the football club brought you down here?
For me, first it was the vision of the club. So when I was speaking to Jay and that, it was the vision of, for both the men and the women, where they want Portsmouth. Because it's always important to join a team that has a vision of where they want to be. And you see that with both teams, that they want to be the best, they want to move up the leagues. So that was the first one, but then really just speaking to Jay, it was the history of Portsmouth as well. I've still got a lot to learn, but it was the history of Portsmouth. It's not, I never heard of it up north, I'll be honest. Like when I'm from Wigan, that's a little town in itself. Like I'd not heard of it, but then speaking to Jay and looking at what is Portsmouth like and the rich history, that instantly just brought me down. And then yeah, the football and the visions, like I said, was what I think finalised it for me.
Yeah, similar to Meg really, but just like the passion in the city for football. I go quite regularly to the men's games, and like the crowd in the men's games is ridiculous. And yeah, for me, I have a really strong passion for football, and yeah, that just really aligned with me.
Yeah, no, mine's a bit personal one. So I lost my dad at 18 for cancer, and I ran away, 250 mile away. That was what I did at the time. I kind of needed to go to university. Portsmouth was the furthest university away from the Wirral, and that's the one I picked because I kind of needed a fresh start, fresh chapter. Thought, stay down here for 3-4 years, get my degree, go back home, and then what will be will be. So I never kind of envisaged staying down here, having wife, kids, career, such an affiliation with another club. So that was kind of what brought me down here and what's probably keeping me down here. Kind of like now feeling like even though I'm not from here, I feel like I am, kind of feel like I've adopted the values and understand what it's like, and very similar to kind of that kind of northern city down south is how I feel when I'm down here, which is probably why a lot of the new recruits are from up north. If you see, someone mentioned it the other day, we sign a lot of northern based players now. So, but yeah, that's my journey down here and why I'm still here.
Just a question for Hannah and Meg. Jessie Gale has had a great week scoring for the England under-20s, I believe. What is she like? Because she's, to me, she seems like a player who looked a bit lost in the first couple of games, wasn't really sure how to play at this level, and is just in an amazingly short amount of time has just found her feet and has scored some goals for us. Just wonder what is she like as a player and a person, and how far can you see her going in her career?
Yeah, Jessie's a great person, good character to have in the building. Yeah, I think with her obviously in the first few games, I think she just needed to get that first goal, and then obviously you can see now she's got the first one and they just keep coming. But yeah, hopefully she continues that for the rest of the season, hopefully.
No, I think she's very exciting. Like, you can always count on Jessie, and sometimes I forget her age. Sometimes I think she's just the same age as me and we're just like best pals, and I'm like, you go and do it all, you've got the experience. And then I remember that she's actually younger and she's probably looking for a little bit of guidance from me, but then I'm watching her thinking, you're showing me everything I need to do. So I think she's got a long and good career ahead of her. She's already shown with England now that she's scoring goals there, and it'll be exciting to see where she goes from now.
Hannah, you were saying that you went to some of the men's games, and I know the atmosphere is completely different because of the crowd ratio.
But a few weeks ago at Wesley, there was a few girls that were singing and cheering right behind you, weren't they? Did you hear them?
Yeah, I think it's obviously good at the Wesley. Obviously, the fans are so much closer to the pitch, so obviously when they're singing, it just gives you that little bit more of a boost, and it's really like the 12th man because they're so close to you, and yeah, the support doesn't go unnoticed.
Okay, alright.
Yellow kit.
Well, I shout an awful lot normally on a Saturday, and on a Sunday I keep stum. It's very rare I might be going behind the goal, and all stuff like that. But normally I can't shut up, and I was very conservative. I won't be now.
No, keep the shouting going. Keep it going.
That's right. It's nice to know because sometimes you don't know what to do because some players like it, some players don't. And it's really hard to judge sometimes, but if that's what you want as players, then yeah, I'm up for
We
it.
probably just look really serious on the pitch because we're concentrating, but we can hear it and we do appreciate it.
Nothing less.
I think as well though, like if a game is tough, say it's a 0-0 or something, and there's a throw in it, and you hear the girls and like you always hear them then, or I'll be running and I'll just hear like go on Meg, and I'm like running past them and I'm like I can hear you.
So I can always hear Hannah shouting, I can hear Meg shouting sometimes, which is great. Where it is, it's situated completely different to here, obviously, and I understand that. But when you hear it sounds like we shout and you just can't hear nothing.
No, it's always a boost. We can hear it.
That's fine.
Just like hearing Jay on the YouTube channel.
This is a question for all three sort of current two players manager. I know when I played, if we lost or if I had a bad game, like I would beat myself up for days. It would almost take over my life. And I sort of look back and I think there could have been other ways that I could have sort of approached that in a more positive way. Could have been good thing, bad thing. How are you sort of after a loss, or if you've had a bad performance? I mean, that's for all three of you really.
Me personally, probably pretty similar. Probably beat myself up a little bit, and probably watch the game back straight away and pick out all the things I probably could have done better, which it does help for me. I think I always want to push myself to be better, so I think picking out my weaknesses and then trying to work on them in the week in training, but yeah, probably quite harsh on myself after games and stuff, but it kind of works for me, so I want to push myself to get to that next level.
Yeah, I think I'm similar. I think we're very lucky that the games, because they're live on YouTube as well, we can watch them straight away. So a lot of the time we'll come off the pitch and thinking that that's the worst game I've ever played, and like I said, you'll beat yourself up and you'll sit there on the bus if it's an away game thinking like, what have I just done? And sometimes you question just everything. But I always find for me it's important to watch the game back straight away and really analyse it in depth, see what I could have done better, and just the sooner I can do that, the easier it is for me to not get over a game because it'll annoy me for the rest of the week, but to put that game to bed and then look onto the next week, because sometimes if you continue to just think about a game, you then get worried for the next week if you're going to have the same performance. So for me it's important to look through the game, get to training the next day, get the analysis done and reflect on it, but also it's important to put it to bed.
Yeah, I think I've gone through a whole kind of personal audit in a way from the early years when I was younger. Really struggled. Sometimes I remember we lost. Some people might know we lost to Chichester midweek. Thought there should have been a penalty on Shannon Albury. Still to this day believe there was a penalty on Shannon Albury. And I think I went to Portsmouth Hill and sat there for about 3 in the morning with a mixed monster burger, not plugging in. But I remember sitting there till about 3 in the morning and I beat myself up constantly. And I remember then getting home thinking that was good until I was up at like 7 in the next day thinking, oh my God, I've got a whole day's worth of work and I was knackered. I think I've gone through that whole process really of how does it look. And I think now, like you said, having a game, if it's an away game, you get straight in the coach, the game's on, and then you can watch the game straight away. Or a home game for me is, I think it's trying to leave it at the door, and then when I walk in, I think I always kind of like see my little boys, and then you kind of have that moment of like, unless it's Freddie who goes, why did you bring Meg off at 77? And he's done that before. He's gone, why did you bring Tander Bunsen off when you were one? I'm like, Freddie, have a day off, mate. Like, come on. So he's sometimes my biggest critic myself. But I think, I think you look back at it and think, for me personally, it's kind of like straight away. First thing for me is what could have I done there? Was the substitutes at the right time? Was the system right? Was the style right? Was this right? And then what could you then look for? But then I think the beauty of it then is to analyse it to a degree and then park it and move on. And then the next game's the most important to a degree. I think that's the quicker you can move on, the better, but without kind of just binning it off.
Definitely remember that Chichester game where it was us stood there and the liner gave the penalty, the ref ignored it, and we were just mental. Question before Brooke. Just want your views on how the PGA is going. Obviously, must have been incredibly good to see Chloe scoring the other day. What a finish from a young player. I'm absolutely amazed. So proud of her for doing that. But how's the PGA been going, and is there any intention of expanding it a bit more than it is now?
Yeah, I think besides the audit at the beginning of the season, which was not enjoyable by any standards or stretch of the imagination, the girls have integrated really well into the group. I'd go as far to say that you probably don't even recognise them as PGA players now. They've seamlessly kind of integrated into the full programme that these girls are doing. We've had a couple of unfortunate injuries with them just as they've stepped into full-time training. Have they all had their debuts now?
Apart from Tia.
Tia, yeah, so Tia's obviously been injured, so Stevie's got on the pitch, and then obviously Chloe scored against West Ham, and that's the aim of it, right? Is let's give these girls the opportunity, first and foremost, to be exposed to a professional environment, that strength and conditioning side, which neither of them have been exposed to at a younger age, so try and get them robust and their bodies ready for this level. They've had exposure then to the coaching and playing with players at this level, and then see how they thrive, and they've both taken the opportunities when given to it, Chloe especially on Sunday against West Ham, and we're really proud for her and her family, because I think it's a really big thing at that age to get your opportunity and then to score against the WSL club is incredible for her personally as an achievement. And then looking to next year, I think we'll be waiting to see how the league develop the academy programme and what requirements they put on us. I think we'll probably hear around January, February time whether we have to expand or whether we're allowed to continue with the bespoke programme. We feel like it's been beneficial this year to have girls in with us and to really be able to develop them in the Pompey way. And I think if we do expand, we'd have to come away from that model. But that might be something that we don't have a choice about, so we'll have to review in the new year. And Kirsty Pearce will lead on that for us.
Hi, a question for Jay. I think it's fair to say that recently we've had some injury issues at the moment, and I think at one point we were playing about 4 players on the bench, which isn't an ideal situation, but it's, it's the way it is, I guess. But is there any? Did you have any idea on? I know we've got players like Emily Pittman, Jazz Younger. They've been out for quite a long time, and we've had some recent injuries as well this season. Do you have any idea when those players will be sort of coming back and when they'll be fit again?
Jazz Young has been back to full training now for the last 2, maybe 3 weeks. So I think she's a week or 2 away from competing for a place in the squad. Emily Pittman's a little bit further back, so you're probably looking just after the Christmas break, and then Annie Hutchin, another one, who we're hoping will be back in around February, March time. Lucy Johnson, who's she's undergoing her operation in a few days' time. around 10 days' time for her ACL. She's obviously at the start of her journey, but for Jazz especially, who's double ACL, been out for, I think they worked it out, it's nearly 400 or 500 days. It's going to be a long it's been a long return for her, and it's going to be a remarkable moment for her when she is available for the squad, and especially when she steps foot on that pitch.
Thank you.
Okay, has anyone got time for one more question? If anyone's got one, or we just move on to. Okay, I think we'll wrap up there. Thank you very much to our panel for joining us tonight. If we could have a round of applause.